No, you should not buy a cheap E46. Now the E46 is a fantastic car. I love it. And some of my most viewed videos are on this car right here. So I love the car. It's comfortable, it's fantastic to drive. It's not fast or anything. It's not even quick, it's slow. But it's just made to be comfortable and fun to drive. I don't know why it's so fun, but it is. If you're looking for like your first car, your second car, a car to learn with, it can be a good car to learn with, but I would definitely recommend like a Honda Civic or something if you really want to start learning how to work on cars. If you're looking for one to be your first project car, it could be okay, but you have to have that want to work on it, to want to learn more. You can't just say, oh, I'm gonna get a project car and expect to do like one thing and it be perfect and you never have to work on it again. If you don't like working on cars, I definitely would not recommend one. If you get all your stuff done at a shop, again, I would probably not recommend one because they're older now, so they're gonna have just constant issues. It could be little things too, but like with these things with some miles, the cooling system needs to be overhauled because all the cooling stuff, it's basically a wear item. After 20 years, they're all just bound to go. Yeah, at this point in the car's life, suspension work, it's gonna need the cooling system, like I said. It's going to need the vanos, will have to be probably rebuilt. It's not too hard of a job, but again, if you're taking it to a shop, it can get pricey. The clutches on these, they typically last around like 150,000 miles. So if you're at that 150, 160, the clutch is probably on its last leg. The CCV, they go bad, they crack, especially if you live in like an area where it gets colder during the winter. It'll get moisture in it and cause cracking, so that needs to be looked at. And I think they might fail with age as well. It's all plastic, so it's bound to fail. These have vacuum line issues as well, vacuum issues. Oil burning issues. I had to do the O2 pilot mod, and that really fixed my oil consumption, so that was great. But just a lot of stuff that can pop up. So if you're gonna take it to a shop or something like that, it can get costly real fast and It can get costly real fast, and it could easily exceed the value of the vehicle. Now, if you're looking at a cheap one, it probably needs all that stuff done. Now, I bought this one for $1,000, but I've also did basically everything I said. I went through and fixed everything, and now it has no check engine lights, no lights on the dash at all. It runs and drives great. Brand new clutch, new oil, new fluids and stuff like that. Coolant, radiator, cooling system's basically new. So it's had all that done, a lot of time. But I do this for fun. I do this as a hobby, and I'm pretty mechanically inclined, so I'm able to finish stuff fast and efficient. So it's not that bad. Also, now that these are dirt cheap, really, a lot of people, they get them and then they don't do maintenance. They drive them for a little bit, and then they just sell them to the next person for them not to do the same. They don't get maintained. I got very lucky, as this one was semi-maintained, because when I took the valve cover off, it was beautiful inside. I thought it was going to be all sludged up, but nope, it was very nice inside. So that was definitely exciting for me. As you can see, there's some vacuum lines right here, and then some of them go around the back of the engine. They're kind of hard to get to, so that can be annoying. Your DISA, these typically need to be rebuilt after a while. The intake boots, they go, like this one's cracked here, and if I bend it back, it's got a crack in it. Those go. Struts wear out, suspension stuff wears out over time. That's common with any car. Your Vanos housing is right here, so this needs to be pulled off and rebuilt at these amount of miles, because the seals in them, they just get smaller, and then it allows more room. and they need to be a tight fit because it has a decent amount of oil pressure in there. Your CCV is right here, and this is plastic. If I press on it really hard, it will crack, so I'm not going to do that. But it goes down under the intake manifold. It's kind of a pain to get to. Decent amount of labor hours for that. Oil filter housings, they leak from the block. You gotta, I think, take the alternator off. I can't remember, but you gotta take some stuff off to get to that. It's a decent job to get to that. You know, here's the coolant expansion tank, and these crack over time. Same with all the hoses and stuff. The O-rings in these go bad, and the hoses start ballooning. And then the hoses to the heater core back here, and those start going bad. And the radiators actually start leaking over time. So that's all stuff that will need to be replaced at this amount of miles. And a lot of this stuff doesn't even matter about the miles, it matters about the age. You could buy one with 10,000 miles on it, and it's still going to need basically all the same maintenance, if not more, because it's going to have a lot more seals that probably have dried up. And yeah, it's not good when cars sit. So not really with miles, but just with age. So basically all E46s, if they haven't had this done, they need it done, or they will need it done very soon. Water pumps down there. Those, I mean, on every car you should do them, but those around 150 miles, it's going to start wobbling and leaking and stuff. So another thing, you know, the list goes on and on and on, but that's with any older car really. It's just that some of this stuff's a little bit harder to do, and some of it is a little more prone to it than, say, a Honda Civic or something. If you're a kid looking for a car to drive, you're like, oh, I want to have a little race car, you know, a street car or whatever, you want it to be fast and fun. These are not fast at all. At least mine isn't. Mine is the 325i, and it is not fast. It is slow. It is terribly slow, and yeah, I don't know how people drift these. I don't know much about drifting, so obviously if I knew more, I'll probably understand more, but yeah, it's just crazy. This thing's very slow. Alright, you get the point. It's slow. So yeah, if you're getting this to have like a street car, you're like, my friend has a Miata and I'm gonna be as fast as him. I think this is probably slower than a Miata. It just feels like a pig. But it is very comfortable, and I guess they can be fast if you turbo them. The engines hold up decently. I really wanted to turbo this one, but I talked myself out of it. I was just like, I'm just gonna get a different car if I want to go through that. So yeah, I talked myself out of it. But you know, if you're finding a cheap one, it's not going to be turboed, and it's going to need a ton of maintenance. And yeah, they're just slow cars. But on the other hand, this thing, all I did to the suspension was new struts and springs in the rear, and I have fairly new tires on it with different wheels, and it drives amazing. It is just so comfortable to cruise in. The seats are comfortable. You know, I drove this thing 4 hours to the Outer Banks, and I wasn't even sore or anything. I was just comfortable the whole time. So it is a great driving car. It's not a great driver's car as in like a sports car or something like that, at least in my opinion. But it is great to just cruise in, you know, great for a daily, just comfortable, and looks nice. You know, it has a timeless look. So it just really is great in that sense. There's where that went. Work never ends on these. So to wrap it up, if you are fairly mechanically inclined, like you've had a few cars, you know how stuff works, then I would say yes, buy a cheap E46. The stuff that they need is not too in depth. Like if you've done a clutch before, you can probably do most of the stuff on here. You know, you just gotta take your time. Make sure you look up the whole install before you perform it, so that way you know what to expect. You know, and then they're fairly easy to work on. They're not too bad to work on. If this is like your second car or maybe even first car, and you don't really know much about how to work on cars or anything like that, I would definitely recommend try Honda first. You know, Honda Civics are great. They're very simple to work on, and they're pretty easy to work on. So yeah, if you don't really know how to work on cars, I would stay clear of one for now. Buy something else where you can learn, and you're not like thrown into something like this. Also, these take, I think it was like 7 quarts of oil, so I have to buy 2 5-quart things when I do an oil change. whereas a Civic, you know, they take like 4. So that's something to think about too. Miles per gallon, I average like around 28 in it, which isn't that bad. Yeah, I average pretty good miles per gallon. It's all right, you know, it's nothing great. My Fiesta ST, which takes premium as well, that I average 38 really when I'm driving it nice, you know, 35-ish when I step on it a little bit. So that averages a good bit more. So that's just why I drive that one more. This car is definitely more comfortable, way more comfortable. A thing to keep in mind about German cars in general is their labor rates at the shop are usually higher than a Honda or something like that, a Ford. They generally charge a more expensive labor rate an hour, so that's a good thing to keep in mind. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video about my E46. I hope I could give some of you looking into one some decent advice and maybe stay away from them. But all in all, they're a great driving car when they're running right, and they're pretty reliable. They are, I'd say, very reliable for a BMW, but they are going to need those things due to age. Most of the issues with them are due to age, and yeah, it can get costly fast. So that is definitely one thing to keep in mind. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.
Bro, I swear his only problem is he loves sticks. Big bag, keep a fast car, and I love skits. Keep up, that nigga talking down, he got a little check.